Skt.
I can't believe how much restraint Skt has. Just grab it.
As a team, they will do so. SK Telecom T1, your two-time world champions. An amazing feat that they have performed here at Worlds.
Yeah, because coming into this Worlds, there was a lot of hype for some of the other teams. EDG, LGD, even KT, Fnatic, CLG, all these teams that people thought could make a big appearance, and everyone fell short, except SKT, who I think completely lived up to expectations. Absolutely. As the favorite of this tournament, even exceeded them in many of the positions, because Marin had huge games, Bengi had big games, Bang had huge games, and it wasn't until the very end that Faker actually had his big game.
The kiss of the LCK Cup and the Summoners Cup for Faker once again. And right now we're going to throw it over to our analysts for a discussion of that game.
Thank you, Riv. Once again, our 2015 World Champions, SK Telecom, and so well deserved. It can only be reiterated. These guys have looked unstoppable throughout the year, unstoppable throughout this tournament, and they come away with it in such fashion there with that final game, absolutely taking over the Rift.
Well, they were a little bit stoppable. They did lose that last one.
You're right. They had the one blemish. They had the one loss.
It was an important international tournament, but I really respect them. They bounced back so hard after that. That one loss, they really came through, tried to fix the flaws that they found, and that led to this unbelievable 53-7 bloodbath through the summer season that has culminated right here.
And their tournament has just been so clean. It took almost all the way till the finals till we saw any of these unforced errors, and there were only a couple of them.
Yeah, up until Marin kind of died there in the play, it was almost looking like, except for one tower, a perfect game here. But still some respect from the crowd for the Blue Tigers.
Yeah. And from SKT as well, great sportsmen there, showing love for our runners-up. I mean, what an incredible run they had as well. That can't be forgotten.
I love it. You gotta love them. Look at their faces.
Talk about the attitude that brought them to the finals will carry them out of the finals.
They may have lost, but they still had such an incredible year.
But they won our hearts.
They won our hearts.
Oh, by far and away.
Yeah, the first year that they're actually a professional team, they go all the way to the finals of the World Championship.
Right, we talked about, you know, great feats like Fnatic and Origin and having made it to the semis with their first year with these rosters. The same thing for Q Tigers, and they make it all the way to the finals. They're the only team to take a game off of SKT in this tournament. But of course, taking only one game off of SKT, I mean, they remain these titans. And you refer back to the video we had at the beginning of the day talking about a team won the Season 3 World Championships, then goes into a slump in that Season 4 to some degree, and they come back stronger than ever.
Yeah, and they're just fearless in their gameplay too, just no hesitation. I think the most I've seen SKT hesitate is when they actually like don't want to drop the cup when they're lifting it up, you know. That's like, okay, we're really good at this game, League of Legends, but this cup right here, you know, that's heavy, so. But
the real world is more difficult.
Yeah.
That cup is,
it's
very heavy.
I've never deserved to
touch
it, you know. So.
They're calculated in the way that they lift the cup, just like they're calculated in the way that they play.
Eventually they'll get used to it, you know. This may not be the last Summer's Cup that the SKT organization may take home, because there's nothing really showing why they should stop progression. That's the more important part for me, is a team that stays flexible through multiple patches. I mean, they've had like 4 OGN titles, 2 Worlds right now, and they've adapted to every meta. They've played to their strengths. They've slumped and came back, which is something barely any team does in League of Legends overall. So that is, for me, most impressive.
Their roster is just so well-rounded that the meta shifts. No matter which lane it shifts to, no matter what combo it can shift to, SKT have someone there that can carry.
And we really just saw that even in a microcosm in these finals, because look at what happened with Faker in this last game. He plays a couple games of Lulu, all right, let's help everybody else out. But then he has one of the most impressive Rise games I have ever seen. He was seemingly everywhere on the map at once.
When he teleported mid, is like, did we glitch or something?
What is he doing there?
SKT getting their swag on right now. Got to get, you know, decked out in all of that World Finals gear as the newest champions. But I do want to return to what you guys are saying. This microcosm that we saw in the series itself, you know, and I do want to point again towards Coma and the coaching staff, because we've talked about one, these are the guys, yes, who are out there doing the work, you know, individually and as a team, but behind them they have this backbone. They have SK Telecom as an organization which is so well established, and it shows in the way that they can rebound from their first loss in Worlds and then have their most dominating game of the series.
It helps when you have Faker. So.
That as well.
It's a large advantage.
Another fitting way for this series to end was with Faker playing Rise and still nobody having an answer for it.
The best part is that so many people, even in that game, underestimated what Faker could do on Rise. There are so many what the heck moments where people are going to try and kill Faker, and he just turns it around in 2 versus 1 scenario.
That is something,
multiple times.
yeah, when you watch SKT as an analyst, very often you see the ideal plays and you just want the teams to make them. Very often when I'm watching SKT, I'm trying to understand what they're doing with the average viewer. Like, even as an analyst, I'm like, oh, that's actually, yeah, it makes sense. It's pretty smart. And they do that in the moment with only half the vision on the map, shot calling it, everybody on the same page. It's just, it shouldn't be possible. It's not allowed, you know, you shouldn't be that good at League.
And Monty, you must find solace in the fact that no team was able to find an answer for Rise. So as I asked you that question, what is the counter? It is still unanswered.
Yes.
Of course. Now when we look at the tournament holistically, there was one player that distinguished himself from the rest of the field, and that was SKT's unstoppable top laner, Marin. He had a 4.4 KDA over the tournament, the highest GPM of top laners, and the highest average CS lead at the end of all starting players. So really just, you know, being that rock for the team in general, being the shot caller, but 2, creating these huge advantages for himself and leading the charge individually.
I gotta be honest, this guy does it all. In lane, in the early game, coming into this game here, he had the highest gold advantage of any player at Worlds at 10 minutes. And then he transitioned that into a massive macro game where he's constantly denying information, shoving waves, coordinating with his team when and where to pressure the map and earn these early leads for them.
And let's talk about Marin as a player over the course of his career, because when he came into SK Telecom, he was such a hyped solo queue player. This is going to be the Faker of the top lane. He likes to roam, he likes to come into the mid lane and help out the jungler with ganks. But then he came in, and he was a great Rumble player, and he was a great Renekton player, but he didn't have a lot of depth. He frequently overextended in the split push and got himself killed. But this year has really been the birth of Marin as a top-tier top laner, where he really deepened his champion pool. He was just in his cocoon before, and now he's a beautiful Marin butterfly. That's very good.
The growth for him has been phenomenal, and you know, as much as we put weight on the fact that Bengi and Faker have achieved their 2nd World Championship, we have to look at those individuals who, you know, have just hit their first, and Marin being a huge example of that. Well, we'll continue this discussion in just a bit, but first, we're going to send it over to Shox for a word with our newly crowned champions.
Well, thank you very much. We will talk to them in a second, but first, join me in welcoming Trevor Henry, Brandon Beck, and Mark Merrill for the presentation of the championship medals. Of course, our champions will get their medals, starting off with Faker himself. Fantastic performance all tournament long. Followed up by Bengi, his 2nd World Championship, ruling the jungle. And then Marin, what a tournament he's had. Most valuable player. Exceptional tournament. The AD carry bag, a 16 KDA. That's the highest out of all the starting players here. And his support, Wolf, and honestly, the backbone of SKT in their run to their 2nd World Championship. Not to forget, Easyhoon stepping up to the plate, a star in his own right, and getting the applause he deserves. Koma, the coach, leading SKT to their 2nd World Championship. And Carter, the head coach of SKT, behind the scenes, making it all happen. Well,